And just to recap, I did call the meeting to order. We do not have quorum yet, but we're going to proceed with a membership update just to keep things moving along. And in our June meeting, we did have 2 new commissioners approved. And that approval went before the Board of Supervisors today. Some procedural elements need to be dealt with, and so the Judge Itzadi will have the opportunity to swear in our new commissioners at the August meeting, hopefully.
Yes.
Wonderful. And as of now, we have 2 open positions on the commission, and we have 1 commissioner who's on leave of absence. So effectively, we now have 12 active commissioners. We've had several volunteer match inquiries over the past 2 months, actually 6 in June and July. We have 2 pending applications, which we will interview candidates in August. We've had strong expressions of intent to apply and strong expressions of interest and people attending the meeting. So we have, I feel like, good contacts in the community and lots of great candidates to consider. So that's all I have for a membership update. And I'm wondering if we can proceed with the oath of confidentiality, since we're just.
It'd probably be better when we have everybody here.
Sophic says he's almost here.
Okay, all right. So
You could go on to item 3 updates.
okay, so let's move to our updates from system partners. And we're just moving to item 3 in our agenda. And that would be hearing from the court and Judge Itzadi. Do you have an update for us?
Good evening, everybody. You know, I really don't have any updates this evening. So thank you.
Everything's going well, smoothly?
As far as I know, yes, it's summer, you know, lots of folks are on vacation. It's a little slow, but otherwise all is well.
Wonderful. Well, that's good to hear too. That's a good update.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming to our meeting.
Yeah, I'm going to be coming from now on. I'm going to come to all the meetings. So
Wonderful.
yes, thank you.
I see that Ron Race, the private defender's office, is here. He was here. And I'm wondering, Ron, if you have an update for us this evening.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I can run through the numbers I usually share with you every month. And then will be happy to answer any questions afterwards. So in the past 4 weeks, we assigned 28 cases. 3 of those cases included allegation of 707B offenses, and the rest of them would have been allegation between probation violation, felonies, or misdemeanors. We did 6 sealings in the past 4 weeks, and then on our helpline, the Miranda call, we received 42 calls in the past 4 weeks. So that's kind of the update I usually share, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. And as Judge Itzadi mentioned, it's a little quiet in the summertime, but it's kind of welcome change for us.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the private defender? If not, I had a question. It was a question about the process of youth hearings for youth transfer to adult court, which is a important topic in our community, and it's gotten a lot of attention. And one of the things that I was reading about is that the juvenile court jurisdiction is 7 years or till a youth is at age 25. And if a youth has been rehabilitated and is set to step down to back to the community at that point, that all is well and the system is working the way it should be. But if there's a feeling that, or if there's an assessment that the youth is not in a position to be safely reintegrated into the community, what happens?
Well, the court jurisdiction pursuant to the statute, Welfare Institution Code 875, terminates either at the age 25 or 7-year commitment in the secure track. So that's the upper limit, my understanding of the law. Now, if you take a youth that is in secure track, 875 does provide the court with discretion. So it does two things. One, there are 6-month reviews during the entirety of the commitment, and then at each 6-month review, the court has discretion under 875 to reduce the sentence by 6 months. So if a youth is not doing well, most likely then the court probably is not inclined to do two things. One, another option also what we call step down. So the court doesn't have to exercise its discretion and order the youth into a step down facility, and two, exercises discretion and reduce the term as allowed by law by 6 months at each review. So then the alternative of that would be, then you have somebody could potentially, if they were ordered to serve 7 years under the court's jurisdiction, they might potentially, if not doing well, kind of serve that maximum term. No, that answers your question, but once the court's jurisdiction ends, the court doesn't have authority to keep anybody in custody after that.
So at that point, that the then 20, let's say they're 25 years old, must be released into the community?
That's my understanding. I mean, the court jurisdiction terminates. That's my understanding, statutory. I'm not aware of anything else. I don't know if Judge Adazadi or Nadia thinks there's any other authority, but that's my understanding of the law.
I'm not aware of any other authority, Ron, either.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
So the next on our agenda would be probation, if we want to finish our updates, and then we'll go back and proceed with the preliminary business afterwards. And the updates, I'm
looking. So before we give our stats, I want to introduce everyone to Ms. Sanam Aram. She's our new superintendent, assistant deputy chief. She oversees institutions. And I'll let you.
Hi, everyone.
Introduction.
Hi, welcome.
I'm Sanam Aram, and I've been with the probation department for going on 21 years, but in this role, just a little about a month. So just getting used to being in this world. I came from adult, so. But I have juvenile history. I was a group counselor for Camp Linwood for about 3 years, and then I worked as a juvenile PO for about 8 years. And then I went to adult for the last 10 years. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you for coming to our meeting.
Thank you so much.
So for juvenile services, we have 277 youth on probation, 118 are under diversion in court, 159 under supervision. As far as our gang, there's 3, 18 under intensive supervision, and let's see, 25 that are under contract. What are the stats for the on the camp?
Sure. Currently, we have 22 youth in the juvenile hall and 2 girls at the camp.
And the 2 girls who are in the camp, those are local
Yes.
girls, right?
Yes, we no longer have any youth out of county.
We have the racial breakdown of the children that are in the hall.
Out of the 22 that we have in custody, 15 are under the Hispanic category. 3 are under the African American category. 2 would be from the Polynesian community, 1 Asian, and another that's listed as other, who's a biracial.
Do we have the number of out-of-county kids that we have versus in-county kids that are currently incarcerated?
I'm gonna email.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. It seems like we're getting a lot of out-of-county kids, and so
Yeah.
it's just something that, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we probably track that, like the admin people probably track that. We just don't have that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for making time to be here tonight. It's good to meet you in person. It's always nice, not just on a face on Zoom.
Could I just ask one more?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
John, would it be okay to explain to everyone about the changes that have happened at the hall as far as everybody being on one unit? Could you explain how the changes there?
I can explain.
Okay, thank you.
So currently, we've decided to combine the units into one. And this was done for a variety of reasons. It was to increase opportunity for the youth to have more of change of scenery, so they could not only just live in one unit, but they can also program in other spaces in the facility. Given that our population is on the lower side, it allows us to give them more programming, to give them more avenues of space to utilize for either homework or studying or any other extracurricular activities or programming that they're currently involved in. It allows them to live on one unit together and not be separated. However, we do have groups that they program separately with, so that if there are youth that need to be separated based on their crimes, we do have them in separate programming groups. But so far, I feel like it's been working out. I haven't really heard any complaints from staff and or the youth that are currently housed in the unit.
We were there this weekend and we had a very nice visit, and it helped us spend more time because we weren't going from place to place. Yeah, and I heard that the girls from camp now are not, they're not sleeping yet at camp, but they're sleeping on the other unit that was closed.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why they just didn't go back to sleep at camp?
Well, staff-wise, I mean, just the resources and things like that, we haven't made the decision to go back fully to camp. So,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
I have a question regarding that. In most institutions, you have like an intake institution for a lot of reasons. In this case here, we have kids that, for instance, have been there 2 years that are firmly established in their programming. Has it been discussed to maybe create that space for them so they're not having to reintegrate with someone who's coming, for instance, who's been homeless in our community and is maybe struggling with some decompression issues? That's a lot of pressure that we're putting on these long-term youth to have to adapt to people that are coming in out of the community with a different type of thinking, right? Has any of that been discussed on?
We have actually. So when I say that we keep them kind of in groups, we want to keep the intake folks a little separate at the beginning so that we get to learn about them, see what their personality styles are like, see if we can integrate them with the other kids. At this time, we are keeping them in a separate group. Even though they're housed in the same unit, they're being programmed separately to allow for us to determine suitability of integrating it with the long-term kids.
And if they're not able to integrate, where would they go?
We keep them separate.
Just keep them in that separate group.
Yeah.
Would kids still be able to access all of the incentives that the other kids are able to access? Okay.
Absolutely. We believe in equity for all the youth. And that's another reason why we chose to do this, was to afford them more of an opportunity to get that equal amount of programming. Because once you bring them all over into one space, it allows us to give them more. And that was our main goal.
And I think really looking at, like, for those types of kids, so looking at Pine Four, what it used to be, where you guys used to go, turning that possibly into like a programming space, like a chill space. We're gonna go over there. You have your, we already have our therapeutic room set up, so your therapy is in this office. You might have a group out here who is getting yoga or, getting the beats or, a separate program where your intake kids, they probably, because we might not know them as much, they might still stay in program on forestry, but your other kids are kind of taken off and removed and going to the program unit.
Okay.
It frees up staff to do programming.
Yes.
So that was a big plus that I saw, that we had a lot more staff
Yes.
available to do movements.
Yes.
Yes,
So
it's an incentive as well. So I mean, if they know that if they have good behavior, then they will be in that group where they get to leave the unit and go explore other spaces in the facility.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And the therapy room, is that a new space?
No, so for on Pine 4, we've had an office that, it used to be a manager office that we converted into like a therapy room. And I think we started it probably like not long after our last inspection, so probably like last fall or so, we've been utilizing that space as the office, or maybe at least this year. And then ideally our Forest One, which is our incentive, they're almost done with the murals, so we'll be able to put that into use as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So if there are no more questions, we'll revert back to the first part of our meeting. And actually, we can do roll call. I'll share to one of our vice chair administrations to do roll call.
Philip Weiss is not here. I am present. Commissioner Mayanori.
Present.
Yes. Vice Chair Huberlati.
Acting as chair.
Commissioner Bocanegra.
Here.
Commissioner Ginevra. Commissioner Sapik-Nori. Commissioner Rasmussen.
Here.
Commissioner Swope.
Here.
And Commissioner Wilson. Is not here.
We do have quorum, so quorum is established. So now we can move on to approval of the minutes from our May and June meetings. We had deferred approval of the minutes from the May meeting to attend to a few corrections and revisions. And if everyone has taken a look at those and has any comments,
I move approval of the May minutes.
is there a second?
Second.
The May minutes are approved.
No,
Oh,
discussion and then vote.
is there any discussion on the May minutes? A voice vote on the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Any abstentions? Anyone not in favor of approving the minutes? Minutes are so approved.
I move that we defer the June meeting minutes to the next meeting.
Okay, and that is a motion then on the table. Is there any discussion?
Need a second.
Oh, second. Space empty. Thank you, Commissioner Bocanegra. Any discussion? Okay, so we will move to,
Vote.
yeah, I was just
I'm
going
sorry.
a voice vote to approve postponing the approval of the minutes until the next meeting to allow for some corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? Any abstentions? So approved. Thank you. So the next item of on our agenda is reviewing and approving today's agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
I second that. Any discussion on the agenda? Any additions or revisions? Okay, so then we will take a voice vote on approving the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any not in favor? No. All right. Any abstentions? No. All right, none noted, and the agenda is approved, and we will move on to the oath of confidentiality. And this is a new oath that we have developed in coordination with our county council to reflect the obligations as commissioners to keep information and items that we observe confidential in our role as commissioners. And so we agreed that all existing commissioners would take this oath today. Anyone who's attending this meeting will take the oath today. Those not attending will sign the oath and take the oath at a different time. And all new commissioners will be asked to swear this oath. So we will take all current commissioners who are attending today will take the oath together. I was thinking of the best way to do this. Do we just all read it together?
Well, I have a thought. Would you like me to administer it?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, so does everybody have a copy of it in front of them?
Yes.
Okay, so what I will do is, I will read like the first 5 or 6 lines, and then you repeat after me, and then the last few lines, I'll read them, and then you repeat after me. So I'm going to ask everybody to raise their right hand, please. Thank you. Recognizing that all juvenile case files and court matters are strictly confidential under California Welfare and Institution Code Section 827, please state your name.
Susan Swope.
Johanna Rouse.
And Kimber Levy.
As a member of the San Mateo County Juvenile Justice Commission, swear or affirm that I will keep potentially identifying youth information, case file records, cases observed, and other protected information confidential. You can repeat that line after your name, please.
As a member of the San Mateo County Juvenile Justice Commission, swear or affirm that I will keep potentially identifying youth information, case file records, cases observed, and other protected information confidential. In addition,
I'll read this. Oh, in addition, I agree to use the authority of the commission only in the interests of the youth of the county and to use discretion, diligence, and integrity in conducting the business of the commission consistent with its statutory purpose of inquiring into the administration of the juvenile court law. And you can repeat that.
In addition, I agree to use the authority of the commission only in the interests of the youth of the county and to use discretion, diligence, and integrity in conducting the business of the commission consistent with its statutory purpose of inquiring into the administration of the juvenile court law.
I understand this oath of confidentiality and have read and understood the operating policies of the San Mateo County Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commissions.
I understand this oath of confidentiality and have read and understood the operating policies of the San Mateo County Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention Commissions.
Wonderful, and thank you. And I would suggest that everybody sign it, and then if you wouldn't mind, having them somewhere on file for the commission, and then sending copies to the court so we have them on file as well. Would that be agreeable?
Yes, we'll definitely do that. We'll keep a copy in our own files on our Google Drive, and we'll make sure that you have a copy of all the current commissioners and as the commissioners come on board the commission.
Thank you. As commissioners, others that have to read the oath, swear to it, you can just send those oaths in as well, if that's okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is so very important, and I know this was your idea, and I want to commend you all for this. It's so important. I'm a mama bear when it comes to confidentiality. Many of you know, because it's so important for our youth. Their futures are at stake. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And thank you for administering the oath.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay.
Want to collect the ones that we have?
Yeah, you can pass them around, and I can take care of those after. So now we are at the place in our meeting where we ask if there's any oral communications from the public, any commentary that anyone in the public would like to make that is not pertaining directly to an agenda item. If it's pertaining to an agenda item that's coming up, then I'd ask that you reserve those comments until we reach that point in the agenda. But if there's, right now we provide an opportunity for anyone from the public to make comment. Oh, I do see a hand up. Ms. Keeler?
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Nori and thank him for his presentation at Board of Supervisors meeting this morning. Yes.
Or am I? You. And I think we are going to be hearing a little bit more about that in a moment. Thank you. Do we have any other commentary? Have anybody said anything in the chat, Leslie?
I don't think it.
I don't see any other hands.
I also just wanted to say, and I usually say this at the beginning of the meeting, so I apologize. Our meeting is kind of a little out of order tonight with the issue with quorum, but if anybody's attending, welcome. We're so glad to have you here in person or on Zoom. And if you would like to introduce yourself in our chat, we welcome that, no obligation, but you know, if you want further information or if you're interested in understanding more about working with the commission, please feel free to leave your contact information in the chat and we will definitely get back to you. So moving on, we now have the privilege of hearing from our Office of Youth and Community Restoration. We have two members of the OYCR here tonight to provide us with a presentation and give us some information about this incredibly important organization that we hope to be working very closely with over the next few years. I think many people in this room are very familiar with what the OYCR is, the mission and the purpose, but for the purposes of our community who might be attending, the mission is to promote trauma-responsive, culturally informed services for youth involved in the juvenile justice system that support the successful transition into adulthood and help them become responsible, thriving, and engaged members of their communities. I'm sure Ahmed will probably, I'm about to introduce someone. I've now spoiled the lead there, but will tell us more about this. So I don't want to steal too much of your information, but basically OYCR was formed as part of the support for the closure of the Division of Juvenile Justice, the realignment, the Juvenile Justice realignment. And OYCR is created within the California Health and Human Services Agency, which is quite important. So I do want to introduce our guests tonight. Ahmed Nemer is the Chief of Ombuds, the interim Chief of Ombuds. And prior to joining the OYCR, Mr. Nemer was a manager with the Office of Foster Care Ombudsperson for over 5 years and oversaw the helpline case management system, data and reporting, in addition to the core function of the office involving investigating and formally resolving complaints impacting foster youth, increasing awareness about foster youth rights, and making recommendations to help support systemic change. He's been working in the fields of social services and mental health for over 15 years. He has extensive child welfare and mental health knowledge and experience, direct practice work with juvenile sex offenders, emotionally disturbed children, and adult mental health. He has a Bachelor of Art in Social Work as well. Also attending tonight is Nancy Victor. Is that correct? Nancy's here. And
Nancy Desiree Victor. I go by my middle name.
Oh, okay. All right. Desiree Victor. And Ms. Victor brings nearly 20 years of community-based work and expertise to her role with OYCR. She's worked in an array of fields, supporting those impacted by a multitude of systems. And since 2009, has worked specifically with foster and juvenile justice systems, impacted youth as a residential counselor, court and education advocate, case manager, and director. She's also served as co-chair of the Santa Clara County Juvenile Justice Gender Responsive Task Force and co-lead to the initiative to end girls' incarceration in the county. There's much more that Desiree has accomplished, but in the interest of allowing time for you to give your presentation today, I will turn over the floor to Ahmed and Desiree. And thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Is someone going to be able to post the slides, or is that something we will do and share our screen?
I think you can share your screen. That's probably the best.
We'll do that right now.
Okay. Let me see.
I can share a Desiree.
Thank you, Ahmed. I just closed it by accident.
No worries. Okay, got it.
All right, while Ahmed is pulling up very quickly, he was able to do so. So thank you for welcoming us here this evening. We're going to be doing a brief overview on OICR with a focus and highlight on the ombudsperson role. Again, I'm Desiree Victor, currently a county liaison with the System Change and Equity Division. And shortly you will hear from my colleague, Ahmed Namer, who's the interim ombudsperson. Next slide. All right, so before we get into our presentation, we wanted to make sure that we highlighted some of the notable works that San Mateo County is already doing. These are some of the things that stood out from OICR's site visit at the end of 2022, I believe it was November, December. We think it's commendable that you all continue to have a low number of girls in detention. For me specifically, that stands out because of the work that I was involved in Santa Clara County. San Mateo County has amazing educational prioritization, and this is reflected in partnerships with Skyline College and Project Change. You all have a great workforce development incentive, and also we think that your partnerships with CBOs is commendable as well, such as the ones with success centers and job training. All right, a new approach to support court-involved youth. So some of the emergencies since Senate Bill 823 was enacted was this closed the Division of Juvenile Justice, DJJ, as of the 30th of June of this year. So local facilities now house youth up to the age of 25. And there's roughly around 400 youth in local county programs. This also means that supervision of youth offenders after the age of 25 can occur, and sex offender registration is no longer required for those specific youth beforehand. And as out of Senate Bill 823 is the establishment of the Office of Youth and Community Restoration, that is us, OICR, within the California Health and Human Services Agency. And we provide statewide leadership on court-involved youth through a health-oriented, evidence-based healing mindset that is informed by an understanding of adolescent development. Next slide, please. All right, so what drives OICR? We envision a California that enables youth to be responsible, thriving, and engaged members of the communities. And our mission is to promote trauma-responsive, culturally informed services for youth involved in the juvenile justice system that supports the youth's successful transition into adulthood and therefore into their communities. Next slide, please. All right, so some of OICR's objectives and ways that we can collaborate with counties is our goals are to support and uphold the successful integration and implementation of DJJ realignment, to ensure that counties are supported in obtaining the resources youth in their care need for healing and rehabilitative services. We provide science-based research and data-driven material with options for ways to support, treat, and integrate youth successfully into adulthood as they complete their commitments in the juvenile justice system and integrate back into their communities. So we want to make sure that when we release youth that they are healed in the process of healing with all the tools that they need to be the thriving adults that they can be. And OICR is available for technical assistance to probation as well as CBOs from counties across the state of California should they encounter an issue or seek recommendations regarding these responsibilities. Next slide. Next slide, please. Uh-oh, where'd Ahmed go?
You lose Ahmed?
Sorry, I got disconnected for a second. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Okay. So here is a brief timeline of some of the milestones since the implementation of OICR, starting with July of 2020 when SB 823 was enacted. Since then, we've collected county plans, hired a director, began hiring a staff. We did a slew of community listening sessions. Our ombuds line opened in August of last year. We completed all 36 SYTF visits as of April of this year. And then that brings us to June 30th, which was the closure of DJJ. And next slide, please.
I think I lost the privilege to share a screen. Maybe the host can do it or can grant me that.
It says it says you still have permission. You withdraw it and I'll reassign it.
Because he got bumped off the.
Oh, when he went off.
Right, but it was still showing as a co-host.
Maybe just the link doesn't work.
Yeah, let's try.
Just-
There we go. Should work.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
All right, and the next slide is just a visual of the structural components of OICR. And today we will be focusing on the ombudsperson division and the ways that we function. With that, I will pass it on to Ahmed to take on this part of the presentation.
Great. Thank you so much, Desiree, and thank you everyone for having us today. Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll dive in quickly. I'm going to talk to you today about the ombudsperson. I'll give you an overview about the ombudsperson division and the role of the ombudsperson as well. And this slide, this is what I'm going to talk about in the next few slides. This is just my talking points. And let's start to each slide will address one of these points. I'm going to start with just explaining what is the ombuds, what the role of the ombuds, what the definition of ombudsperson. And ombuds is not just for the OICR or juvenile system or for child welfare. There is ombuds everywhere, and their role is very much the same. But the ombudsperson is, as you see, the impartial and independent person that have the rights and the authority to investigate complaints about the government actions, and when appropriate, they can actually recommend systematic change. This is the general definition of ombudsperson in general. We have a key characteristics for the ombudsperson, and this is general to anywhere you go. They are the same, and I can give some lights about the characteristics of the ombudsperson. The ombudsperson should be independent, should be impartial, and should be confidential. And just briefly, what each one of them means here. Being independent, that will allow the ombudsperson to act independently, can have the autonomy to investigate complaints, to receive complaints, to make a decision about which complaint they will move forward and investigate, which complaints they can refer to another agency or decline to investigate, free of outside control from even with a house within certain agency. You still have the autonomy as ombudsperson, have, as I mentioned, the discretion to determine what to do with a complaint. We have like 3 ways: you can decline, or you can investigate the complaint, or you can refer to another agency. Being impartial is very critical for the complainant. do you need? We need to read the complainant. We hear everything that they say. We ask many questions during the intake time, and we let the complainant know this is the one side of the story we're gonna investigate, and we're gonna listen to the other party, and we'll go from there. But this is just to want to make sure that we're not biases to anyone. We're not taking any side to anyone as the ombudsperson. Confidential, everything that we actually, all the data and information from the complainant that we collect or during our course of investigation is totally confidential. We don't share it with anyone. And in most cases, if not all of them, when we start the investigation, we don't share the information of the complainant. If the complainant, someone else other than the youth in the juvenile justice system, we don't share the information. That can be a parent, can be staff actually within the juvenile justice system, can be a relative, can be the attorney, can be too many people to initiate a complaint on behalf of the youth in the juvenile justice system. And these three characteristics is you will see them in all our work. Everything that we do within the Ombuds division, we actually follow the guidelines for being independent, impartial, and confidential as well. The Bill of Rights, which is a big topic, and this is one of the training that we will provide in the future, provide training to youth in the juvenile justice facility and everyone else around the youth and their parents, social workers for the dual status youth, probation staff, attorneys, anyone who can provide training about the Bill of Rights. But I can give some highlights, and I will share with Karen. I'll send her a copy of the Bill of Rights. We have a temporary publication that we send out to all the probation chiefs to be shared with the youth and the family members as well. I'll share this temporary publication after our presentation that you can look at it. AB, the Assembly Bill 2247. Has all the Bill of Rights, and as you see here, it has the WIC code 2247 is about just give some definitions, like very much about what the youth means in the Bill of Rights, what the family member, extended family member means, and the facility, what facility means. And this is like really simple, just any for the family member, any blood relative or just the extended relative of the youth or adoption relationship that can be actually considered a part of the youth family. A juvenile facility, any juvenile facilities that house youth that in juvenile justice system, and the youth, definitely any youth that detained within those facilities. Bill of Rights, it has about 18 rights, like just number wise, I say from like letters wise from A to R. And when I break down the Bill of Rights, I see it has like personal rights, it has legal rights, it has communication rights, it has mental health rights, physical health rights, and education rights as well. I can give you a sample of some of them, just from the very, very beginning when you talk about the Youth Bill of Rights or rights for the youth and juvenile justice system. Just a very basic to just be treated with dignity and respect, to live in a safe place, to have like live in healthy and clean environment, and to be provided with the adequate food, and go all the way down to the legal rights to attend all the court hearing, to have a counsel, go through the communication, to communicate with the family member, to have access to phone call, you receive emails, confidential phone calls as well. And for the medical and mental health, you have definitely timely to receive the medical, dental needs as needed and timely, and for the mental health to receive the same therapy and to receive the mental health services. And you have the right as well to refuse the psychotropic medication, unless it's a life-threatening or something that cannot be delayed. But we can definitely, we have another chance to have a specific training about the Bill of Rights, and we can go in details about the Bill of Rights. Within the Bill of Rights as well, within the AB 2417, there is the facility requirement for each facility. What are the requirements by the law? And basic as to give the youth orientation when they come into the facility, and to post the Bill of Rights, in the common areas, can be in the cafeteria, the school, and the common area where the youth be around, and to give the youth as well a handout has the Bill of Rights, provide them orientation about the policy of the juvenile facility when they join. Few more requirements similar to that. The ombudsperson, which is our role, and we can talk about that in the next few slides, and definitely being free of discrimination. All these within the Bill of Rights, within the AB 2247. And as I mentioned earlier, that will be one of the training that ombudsperson will be delivering in the future when we are fully staffed and we can start provide training about the Bill of Rights. Our legal authority as the ombudsperson is established in the year of 2021 with the passage of Senate Bill 824, 823, and was amended later on by Senate Bill 187 and Assembly Bill 2417. We have, the ombudsperson has the right to, or the authority to investigate complaints. And I can talk about that when we talk about the complaints, publish and provide regular reports to the LG office and can be for public as well, available for public. Disseminate information, which is the Bill of Rights, and provide training and technical assistance to the counties and to the probation department. Have access to the facilities. We can go and observe. We can meet with the youth confidentially and just listen to not necessarily complaints. If you want to talk to the ombudsperson, we can meet with them in a private place and listen to what they want to say. Request access to the record that in the course of investigation, sometimes we request a copy of the youth record that we can review within the complaint that we receive from the youth. Not every single case that we investigate we require the record, but we have the right to request the record and to visit the facilities as well. Things that ombuds cannot do, and as I mentioned earlier, we have definitely limitation. And these are the few things that we share with the youth or complainants when they call us, let them know that we cannot definitely provide legal advices or change court orders. We cannot investigate complaints about attorneys or judges and the personnel matter as well. Like we cannot change, hire or fire staff person or change probation officer or social worker or any that type of personnel issues. But these are the things that the ombuds cannot do. Next, as I mentioned, we have a 800 number that of helpline. We receive complaints through the helpline, and we have posters that posted everywhere. All the facilities around the state, we have a copy of the poster that has our email address and our helpline, which is the 800 number. We receive most of the complaints from the helpline. We operate Monday to Friday from 8 to 5, and the youth should have access to that number and have access to the phone to call us. We created within the office different type of cases. We have, as you see, we have complaints and we have requests, and we have something in between, which is called information referral. Very briefly, youth complaint. Anytime that we receive a complaint from the youth directly, the caller is the youth. But we log this one as a youth complaint, and the reason we differentiate between the youth complaint and general complaint, even though they are very similar, because the data that we collect from the youth is different than anyone else calling to file a complaint on behalf of the youth. We have a youth complaint when the caller is one of the youth. General complaint, anyone else calling to file a complaint on behalf of the youth or any complaint about the facility or about whatever the complaint is about, that we'll consider a general complaint. And we get complaints from attorneys, as I mentioned earlier, from family members, from social workers, therapists, from staff, juvenile staff, and those can be definitely confidential. And we can actually, if you request to be anonymous, we can actually keep the name anonymous as well, and we will reveal the name of the complainant. Information referral, we get sometimes calls that it's not complaint, just someone asking a simple question, something about the Bill of Rights or something about like any general question. They can just something in the Bill of Rights that they want to need information about, or asking about the facility address or a phone number. Sometimes we get those calls, but either we provide the information and we still create a case and we close the case immediately, or if something that out of our jurisdiction, we refer the caller to the entity if we know which entity that the call should be directed to, and we close. This is called the information and referral. Training, this is, as I mentioned, in the future, we're going to start providing two types of trainings. First one will be about the Bill of Rights, and the second one about the role of the ombudsperson. And in most cases, we'll combine them together, because the role of ombudsperson can take probably 10 to 15 minutes. Bill of Rights can take the rest of the 2 hours. It will be about 2 to 2.5 hours training, talking in depth about the Bill of Rights and the role of the ombudsperson. For the audience, they can understand the Bill of Rights. And publication, we are required by the statute to provide publication that has the Bill of Rights in an age-appropriate language. Like, we're not going to use the exact language in the Bill of Rights. And what we are doing right now to provide this age-appropriate language is we post on our website like the Bill of Rights, the exact language, and next to it another column has the same meaning of the Bill of Rights, but in the kind of we call it like the 5th grade level. And we collect feedback from the public about the language to be more kind of age appropriate for the youth. They can understand it directly, and about the design of the Bill of Rights as well. When we do the publication, we are doing the same thing with the youth. We actually some of the advocates, or like ARC or the other agencies similar to that, they go to the facilities and provide youth with the support groups and other activities from that nature. We're actually going to work with them to solicit some feedback from the youth about the language. And we did visit some facilities and we met with the youth. We shared with them the Bill of Rights and asked them about feedback. And they were okay with the current Bill of Rights. They made some suggestion to make some definitions or to change some words to make it a little bit easier for everyone to understand. This will be our publication. We're working on it. The expectation to have the publication ready. We anticipated those publications to be ready by the end of this year. And we will publish a poster as the Bill of Rights. And we will publish as well called the wallet size brochure, a small brochure. Like brochure can be set, like you can put it in your pocket, has all the rights, and it's foldable. That can be for the youth to have it in their pocket, or have it in their unit. And a small card, like a business card, has the contact information for the ombudsperson. We will start with these 3 publications. Poster has all the Bill of Rights, the size wallet size brochure has all the rights in it, and the small business card. The complaint process, I'll go over this one quickly. We start from intake all the way until we close the case. And during the intake, this is the most important part of our process for the complaint. We ask too many questions. Anyone calling, whether the adult or youth in the juvenile facility, we ask them about everything to make sure we cover what happened and who did it and when and where and why. We try to get all the information, and we try to get names and get the locations. We don't just ask if someone assaulted me or the staff used excessive force against me. That's good that we get complaint, but we need to know who is the staff, when that happened, what the cause of that. But try to collect as much information as we can, that when we reach out to the facility and to the probation chief, we have enough information that we can establish investigation. We always ask the complainant about their desired outcome, what exactly they are looking to accomplish, what they need the ombuds office to do for them. But this desired outcome comes from the complainant. We educate them about other options. We ask them if they exercise their rights within the facility. Did they file a grievance? Did they talk to the directors or the supervisors to file a complaint? But we try to use this one as an educational moment about the rights and what they can do as well until they call the ombuds office. We investigate or refer out, and as I mentioned, this is in our statute. We have the right to investigate the complaint, or decline, or refer it to another agency. Attempt to resolve the issue. We definitely work diligently with all the interested party to informally resolve the complaint. And so far, the complaint that the probation department and the chiefs has been working very well with us, and we have been resolving a lot of issues within that communication with them. Written recommendation, which is the reports I mentioned earlier, and complainant closure letter. When we're done with any complaint, we send a closure letter to the complainant, informing them about the outcome of our investigation. And that is a written letter, and we send it via mail to them, or email. It depends on the situation. This is very much a quick overview about the role of the ombuds, what we do with the Bill of Rights, and here are our contact information. And I'm not sure if we talk more than what we should, but I think we have some more. If we have time for questions, please feel free to ask.
Thank you, Amit. I do have some time for questions. I have some questions. Does anybody else have? Commissioner Rasmussen?
So my question involves the Youth Bill of Rights. While I can appreciate that the posters and the cards and the brochures are not ready, is that in effect? Is that law in effect right now? Even though the materials and the training is not done, it's my understanding that law is in effect right now.
Yes, absolutely. The AB 2417 actually effective from January 1st to 2023. It should be actually, yeah. Just we are behind with the publication because we want to get the feedback from the youth and from other interested party. But no, these laws are actually effective January 1st, 2023.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Bufnaker, did you have a question?
I have a question. Thank you for the awesome work that you are providing to our youth. I think this is a very important piece of oversight that I think the community can definitely appreciate. My question is, if youth wanted to communicate with you, maybe through the address they get on a card, is it confidential? Do they communicate with you via legal mail, or would that be some general request that they would operate through?
There's few ways that the youth can communicate with us. In person, because we go do site visits and we meet with the youth in confidential place and collect all the information. Via our hotline or the helpline, they call the 800 number and they file the complaint. And the first question we ask them, are you safe? Are you feel safe to make the complaint? And they always, in most cases, they said yes. They can actually send us regular mail, and we have so far since last year, since the ombuds started in September of last year, September 1st till today, we have about 163 complaints. None of them from San Mateo County, by the way. Keep the good work up. 4 of them actually came to us via mail. And the rest came via either in person or via hotline, and we have actually few via email. Some of the youth, they have access to internet because they are in college, but they provide them with access to the internet. So actually, we received a few complaints from the youth via email as well.
Thank you. And my second question is, for instance, if a youth just recently termed out of juvenile probation, turned 18, and was discharged, and would like to make a complaint of some incident, hypothetically, what are you doing to follow up with these youth to track them down to find out if there's something that they would like to talk about?
We usually get the complaints from youth in the juvenile justice system. We got, speaking of your point, we got one complaint, I believe, from one of the youth, no longer in the system, he left, but he wants to provide some information about a complaint. we take it as a general complaint and we investigate and add it to our recommendation, but not necessarily going back to the youth, because in most cases we have no follow-up or contact with the youth afterwards. But we consider those like a complaint that we were enhancing and improving the juvenile justice system, but we still take the complaint and we investigate and follow up and make the recommendation. Not necessarily going back to the youth if he's no longer in the juvenile justice system.
And my last question, and thank you for your patience with me. Do you attend, or does your organization attend JJDPC meetings throughout regions or in the state? And are they interacting with commissions to work to protect our kids, right, from harm?
I can step in for this one. So our systems change and equity division has different sections of the state of California that we oversee. So I'm a county liaison and I oversee the support for Northern California counties. And the Bay Area is in itself one section. We're currently in the hiring phases for the county liaison for the Bay Area. So once there's a county liaison for your region, they will typically be attending JJDPC meetings. And again, our role is specifically support and technical assistance. So when we attend JJDPC meetings, one, we always let the commission know that we will be attending because there's a lot that happens. So sometimes we'll attend them quarterly, sometimes we'll attend them monthly based on the need or a specific request. But our role is to come and just observe, see what some of the trends are, answer any questions if possible, and then again, oversee and coordinate any data, any curriculum, if there's any connections with CBOs in the county that need to be made, we are here to support with that technical assistance. But you will have a county liaison hopefully soon, and you will see them a little bit more periodically in the JJDPC meetings. But you are always welcome to contact us for any questions. I might step in to support in the meantime. And then also on top of that, you'll have a regional specialist who kind of oversees the top 2 regions of California. And then there's another regional specialist for Central California and Southern California.
I think we have had a couple of liaisons who I think you've had a bit of shifting within the OICR, because we had Angel Garcia and Miguel Garcia, I think, were attending some of our meetings over the past year.
Yeah, so Miguel is still the regional specialist.
Okay.
For Central and Southern California. Angel has transitioned onto another organization, and she was also a regional specialist. Again, we're currently in the process of hiring and filling those positions.
Okay, wonderful. That was one of my questions. So you've answered my question there. I was just wondering who would be coming, but that's great. I have a question specifically about the complaints process, and Amit took us through the whole the sequence of events that needs to happen. How long does that take? Is there a time limit on that? Like, do you strive to have that completed within 72 hours or a week, or how does that work?
Great. That's a good question. Yes, we do have within our policy and procedure 2 weeks time limit to resolve the complaint from the time we do the intake until we resolve the issue, unless we have some complex complaints that can take up to 90 days. But we have for a regular complaint, it should be done within 2 weeks. Complex complaint can take up to 90 days. And this is like really the timeline. We should not exceed 2 weeks or 90 days for either of them.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. I just wanted to mention to all of our commissioners who are in the meeting and listening and who may see this afterwards that we We have circulated a copy of the Bill of Rights, and it was the copy that has been circulated by your office to request any comments on the youth-friendly language. And so we do have until July 31st to provide comments on that. So I would encourage all of us to use the next week to take a look at that and see if we have anything jumps out, especially for those who are experienced in speaking with the youth in the hall. You know, you might read it from that perspective and just see if something.
We actually did better than that, Karen. We actually brought it in this weekend and with 6 of our long-term youth and discussed it with them there.
Excellent.
And also discussed it with the parents.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And did you get some good comments from them?
Yes.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's great. That's perfect. So that's super valuable input. I think that's exactly what we need to hear from those who need to be receiving that information. The other thing that I wanted to mention is kind of like the backdrop to this in terms of how we, as the JJCs relate to the OYCR. I did have the opportunity, I didn't attend the Zoom, but I had the opportunity to view the Zoom that Director Lucero held with the JJCs across the state. And a couple comments that she made that I thought were super valuable just in terms of orienting ourselves, that she noted that the role of the JJCs is to assist the counties in ensuring the youth and families have access to what they need and to promote best practices in carrying the mission forward. So that the importance of the JJCs is to making sure that county facilities do not end up like the state facilities did. Like that these changes are for a purpose. That the local JJCs have the role to ensure that we seize the opportunities of this moment and make sure youth have what they need. Don't just replicate what the DJJ did. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there as our marching orders and our challenge to be part of this opportunity to work together and ensure that these great changes have an impact on the youth. Does anybody else have any other questions that they have for Ahmed and Desiree? It's all quiet here. Well, thank you for all that information. We really appreciate it. We would love to have you come in person, but we do understand that the 3-hour+ driving time was a bit daunting. I was super excited when you said you were going to come, but I was like, wow, that is dedication.
We'll plan for another one in person for sure.
Yeah, another time. Well, thank you. And do you plan on giving the training on the Youth Bill of Rights to commissions as well, or is that mostly to?
For anyone can call us and request the training on the Bill of Rights, and the role of the ombuds will definitely can do.
Okay, wonderful.
Not at the moment because I'm still hiring. I'm just kind of the only person right now in the office.
Right.
We actually hiring. Hopefully soon we will be fully staffed and we will be able to provide the training and other services.
Wonderful. We understand. Well, thank you so much. And if there are no more questions, then we will wrap up that part of our agenda and move on. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Nice to meet both of you.
Same here. Thanks.
So we will move to the part of our meeting, and we are right on time, by the way, in terms of my assessment of how the time should flow. So this is the part of the agenda that deals with current commission projects and updates on what the commissioners are up to. Very fresh is the Reimagined Juvenile Hall presentation that Commissioner Safik Nouri made to our Board of Supervisors today. So I will turn the floor over to you, Commissioner Nouri, and if you can.
Yeah, so I'm happy to share. So the agenda item or the presentation that I gave is attached to the agenda packet, and I thought it went pretty well. I had a chance to talk with Chief Keen before and after, and you know, everything that he shared, while he might disagree on some of the specifics, he did agree with the general recommendations. And I think the Board of Supervisors, you know, all 5 of them were also very supportive of establishing some sort of therapeutic like step down program for boys in San Mateo County, kind of what Camp was to girls. I mean, I think Chief Keen had some fair logistical technical questions is what it would entail for some of our solutions, like opening up Camp Glenwood or changing reopening Camp Glenwood and changing Camp to a co-ed facility, which I think both I and the Board of Supervisors, realize that there are something that we are limited to by our statutory laws that the state provides to us, but he seemed committed to doing everything possible to increase programming opportunities and, work towards developing something. So I thought it went very well overall, and the Board of Supervisors is very supportive of our work and also, what our goals were for the future. And at least Chief Keen seemed positive enough that he was at least trying to follow some of our recommendations that we've given him in his reports. He kind of emphasized that things take a while to change, and that he can sometimes be frustrated by the slow pace it takes to change things, but they are very much constrained by state regulations.
Could you give us, are there any specific examples that he gave?
Yeah, so actually, Supervisor Canepa did ask him, what is one thing that you're kind of limited by? And he was like, I know that the commission often talks about how we want to try to make the place where they stay, he called it the rooms, more feeling home-like. And he was like, we are very limited because everything from where the bed can be to what type of bed to how the window has to be to what the door is, it's all regulated by state code. And he was like, unless the state code changes, there's nothing I can do. So even if I did want to make it more dorm-like or open up a window or something or take down a wall, unless the state changes their welfare institutions code, I can't. Yeah, it would be violated. It wouldn't be a secure facility if he did that. So he kind of brought that example up in specific.
So the flexibility of having the camps, though, is where that comes in, right? The camps.
Yeah, so he even brought up some problems with that. So I think one thing, I didn't know this, but he said that if camp, he looked into it, if it was changed into a co-ed facility, its capacity would go down to 6 from 30. So that kind of, I think that kind of made that idea not as viable. And he also said the problem that Camp Glenwood had was it was grandfathered in because it's been there for so long. But if in order to reopen it up, there are a lot of stuff that's not up to code that have to be fixed in order to open up reopen Camp Glenwood. So he kind of said that he was more focused on trying to bring more of the stuff that was good about Camp Glenwood and that's good about Camp to boys. And what he also kind of worried about changing Camp to a co-ed facility, felt that there was a lot of programming that was girl specific that would be lost and that it would kind of take away from their experience if it became co-ed. So he seemed committed though to working with the solution. I think the Board of Supervisors, like Supervisor Mueller especially, was very much interested in having such a facility. And he pointed out that it was an asset, not a liability, that there are only a couple of youth who might take advantage of these programs. And it's a testament to all the work that's happened in San Mateo County in lowering our juvenile justice population, but also how, it means if we have less youth, it means we don't have to invest as much resources into having a bigger facility, since there are only a certain number of youth who could take advantage of the step down program. We have a smaller size of everything that we need to do, so it should make it easier per se.
I thought it was very promising that Supervisor Corzo and Supervisor Mueller formed a subcommittee to look at how Camp Glenwood might be utilized, how they may open up even a portion of it to see if it is feasible to use it again. So I was thrilled with that. I thought Commissioner Norrie did an outstanding job, and I was very appreciative of the kind and very thoughtful remarks of the chief. He was very complimentary of the commission, and that certainly is appreciated.
Sounds like you did a terrific job representing. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Are there any other questions or public comment on this? Yes, we do. Nancy Goodban, I recognize you.
Yeah, thank you. And I live in Redwood City and within our care. And I just wanted to say, yeah, it was a great presentation. And I like that several of the public comments did refer to the need to really be imaginative and think outside the box. And kind of the sense from the Board of Supervisors was, let's not give up just because this seems complicated or hard. And it seemed like there was really clear that camp is a better location. I mean, a better model. There's only 2 girls there. There's 30 beds. YSC is more prison-like. It's more jail-like. There's 180 beds at the moment, 22 kids. If one of the public commenters said, well, why not make it inpatient substance abuse or inpatient mental health care, you know, divided out. And like others have said, I'm just really glad that Supervisor Mueller and Supervisor Corzo wanted to sit down and say, how could we make a tiny part of Camp Glenwood, you know, a good therapeutic environment for the kids who really need it. So thank you for all you've done.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, if there are no further comments, we'll move to our next update, which is Commissioner Rasmussen on our 2023 inspection cycle, which is about to kick off.
It certainly is. So hopefully by this time, everyone's had an opportunity to go through the Google Drive and add your input to the inspection forms. I know I've said this for the last 3 months in a row, but this is the time now that the forms should be finalized because the appointments for the inspections are being made. So this is your opportunity. If you have not contributed your information, something you'd like to see added, then it will probably need to wait until next year. So please make sure that you do that. Keep an eye out for your emails from your team leads as far as when your inspection date will be. I know I'm working with the YSC to get a date now. I know Paul is working on getting a date with Camp, and Melissa's doing education, and I believe Monroe is doing, can you know?
Yeah, and Susan and I are on that team, and we have a date.
Oh, great.
August 23rd.
Oh, wonderful. Perfect. So things are moving right along.
On schedule.
Yes.
Oh, I was just wondering, do I need to be sworn in before I can have access to the drive?
That's a good question. I would think so. I would think so. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of confidential information.
Right. But I can send you a copy of last year's inspection report because that's public information and you could read through it.
Yeah.
And you could then write your questions down and you could send it to whichever team you're interested in becoming. Make sure you make that contact where you're going to go. And then we can add it that way.
All of those are on the
on the website too, right?
Website.
Yeah.
So you can access any of the inspections from any number of years, but you would probably want the ones from this last year.
And it's really valuable to go back and read the last few years.
Yeah.
So you'll know, like, everyone on the team should do this. They should be familiar with last year's and even the year before to see what.
A couple years were actually
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
To see if there's anything that's still outstanding that you need to bring forward and to see what's been closed. And the rule of thumb is you can add, but please don't take anything off. Okay. Thank you.
Or raise questions about something to understand. Okay, great. And now we will move to pending Commissioner Singh, who is here with a limited vocal capability due to allergies. So she's going to update us a bit on the transition project.
Yes. So one of the things that we're looking at is the parents' experience as their child goes through the different phases of transition. What we did is we reached out to Star Vista. They provide a lot of classes to parents, different levels. So we wanted to kind of get the parents together and kind of get their feedback on what the experience is and where we can help, how we can help through for the transition period. So Jessica from Star Vista is a really great resource for us. She is really willing to work with us and excited about working with us. Currently, they have 3 parents actually in the group, in the class that they currently have, but she's having difficulty trying to get all of them together at one place. So I keep following up with her to see when we are able to meet with the parents. And as soon as we have an opportunity, we'll like to chat and then what we learn.
And so the purpose there is to interview them in terms of their experience and hear what their, kind of the highlights and the potential.
Yes, because I think one of the things that we're learning as far as from the transition, at least from my experience and I know from other parents, is there's not really a formalized process in place as their child goes through different phases. The parents don't understand what it is that their involvement, what they need to do, and sometimes the child does not either. So we're trying to better understand, it's like, what does the transition plan looks like? Is there a way to formalize it? Is there a way to document it? And then kind of look at what are the challenges that parents are currently having, so how we can then use them as resources, and where do we go in and focus on.
And could this be an opportunity for the commission to provide, at least a kind of a checklist or process map
Yes.
for parents to
Yes.
give them that kind of orientation about what to expect?
Yes, so I know I've spoken to some of the POs, right, one of the POs, and there really is nothing in place. Not even a checklist for what not only the internal systems needs to go through to help the parents and the youth. So that's where we're trying to figure out, okay, from an end-to-end process, what are some of the requirements that we need to put in place, not only for the youth, but also for the parents. Right, so they know, okay, this is what it is. They're going to, from phase 1 to phase 2, this is what we need to do. Now they're going to be released. What does that mean?
Yes.
So, and a lot of parents right now do not have any clue.
And just not knowing is so stressful.
It is.
You just feel like you're going to miss something for sure.
Yes.
So your personal experience is so valuable in this,
Yes.
and also your experience professionally in process improvement
And
systems
yes.
mapping.
Yes,
is
but
so
that's what,
valuable. So
yeah,
thank
so
you.
that's what I'm trying to do, is understand the end-to-end process, right? So I know that at least my daughter is going to be recommendation to be released tomorrow, right?
Congratulations.
I'm trying to, yes.
Let us know how we can support you.
Yes, and so that's where I'm even trying to understand, okay, what does that look like as a parent? What does that mean, right?
Your questions are
My
valuable.
questions, right? So what does that mean? Do I, have to report what happens, right? But there is nothing there, and no one's really explained it to us. I think that there is a huge gap that can be.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for providing that update, even when you're struggling there. Thank you. You can rest your voice now. Do we have any questions about this transition project or questions for Commissioner Singh? So moving on then to our next topic on our agenda, which is police liaison in the meeting with the San Mateo Police Department.
So Commissioner Bocanegra and I continue to meet with the, it is the captain of the San Mateo Police Department. There seems to be a lot of activity that goes on in a very small area, small neighborhood. And so what we're trying to do by being out in the community is to partner with the police department and say, here's what we know, here's the problems we see, share with us what your problems are and what you see, and we've got to do something different to fix it. So we have like an ongoing dialogue now. I would say we probably communicate with them weekly. And so we're moving forward. And I can't get into the specifics of certain things, but we are making progress.
And this is with the juvenile division.
No, he's not necessarily,
Captain of field.
yeah, he's captain of field operations. So it's basically about policies on search warrants and policing the community, how the children are viewed, the types of services, what happens when the children are both victims and perpetrators, right? And where the rights are and how to get U visas for parents. I mean, there's a whole thing that we talk about.
What was that?
The visas, like when a family is a victim of a crime, right? Then that's an avenue to get immigration status. And so there's a whole bunch of things that fall into this umbrella. So we're teaming up on all of that. What am I missing, Paul?
No, yeah, so Captain, we met with him regarding search warrants and how families were being treated. Some of these were our mentees, homes that were being raided and property being destroyed. And we had a really promising response. I had coffee with the captain, and he was interested in learning what the police department can do to better understand how to work with these youth that are experiencing trauma in the community, trauma at home, some of them victims of crime, some of them probation. So he's just very interested in looking for some other dynamic in how to address and approach the families as well as the youth that are system impacted right now. And so it is an ongoing conversation. He has left the door open for us to reach out to him when it comes to specific crimes or families that are being impacted. And it appears that they are becoming more invested. They have their own youth program that they run on Wednesday nights out of the police department there. And so he's invited us to join that and possibly speak to the families and the youth that are currently system impacted. And that may be some place that you may want to reach out to make contact with parents that are experiencing that type of impact as well. There'd be a lot of feedback. And so, yeah, San Mateo Police Department is very active in wanting to collaborate with the commission and other CBOs to provide a different level of public safety that hasn't been thought of, almost like reimagining how they're interacting with these youth. So props to San Mateo Police Department.
Yes, they're really
for the
trying
work
to
they're doing. Yes.
build
Very
trust
invested.
with a community that traditionally is not trusting
Yes.
of law
Right.
enforcement. So
It's important.
it's an important partnership.
Yeah.
Great work out there. Thank you for sharing. And so if there are any other questions on that or comments? Otherwise, we will move to new business updates and announcements. And number one is our proposed retreat offsite for commissioners. We held a retreat last year, which was very successful on many different levels. And the consensus was that we should continue this experience and continue to build relationships and build on the good work that we're doing. So we have a date for our offsite, and Commissioner Rasmussen, do you have any comments on that, or is that something that Commissioner LaBuise is?
Oh, they can't hear?
Yeah. Oh, we just got a text from one of the
Let's see.
community leaders and it's having trouble listening.
Can you check the screen, Leslie, to make sure it works?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear
I
us?
can hear everything, just so
Okay.
you know, I can hear everything.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I think somebody had an issue. I see a thumbs up.
Yeah, it was from
Dude,
before.
okay.
It was from before when there was the report on transitions. I think it was hard to hear, but it's better.
Oh, okay, that's because, yes, there was a little bit of a voice issue there.
Yeah, no
That
worries.
might be-
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
I don't have anything to add. I
Okay.
think that we were working on getting a date and then sort of figuring out what we were gonna, how we were gonna fill the day.
Oh, actually, I do have something to add to that, because one of the things we were thinking about for our offsite was to include some training from the Bureau of State and Community Corrections. Thank you. And they typically do not travel and provide training on a Saturday, which is that date. But our regional contact said he would check into it and he might be willing to do that. He said he would have no problem providing the training sometime in September. So he might be able to do that. So that's a possibility that we could fit in a couple of hours in that day to have that training. It won't be prior to our inspections, but it will still, I think, be valuable. So that's an option. The other new business item we have moving forward is a report on the tour of Maple Street Jail, but both Commissioners Wilson and Ginevra are not here. So I don't think there's anything pressing, unless anybody else who was on the tour wanted to share anything about that. Otherwise, I think we'll just push that until they have their personal experience that they want to share in the highlights. I heard it was very positive though, and some interesting, good information, especially about food service provision. Yes, and you are next on the agenda, and we're working on a very interesting website.
Yes, so I talked about this, I think, last meeting or the meeting before. Basically, I'm working on creating a website that has a few resources for youth who end up staying in probation past 18 and need, some different kinds of access to different resources in order to re-enter the world outside of probation more successfully. And so there's three main things that I'm focusing on based on a conversation that I had with Melanie Stauffer while she was still at probation, and that is getting an ID, some financial literacy resources, and then connecting to community college classes. And so unfortunately, I wasn't able to get some pictures of the mock-up website, which I've just created in time for the agenda packet. So I will email those out this week so that you all can take a look. But I just kind of wanted to update you on some of the content on the website. So for the financial literacy, there's a few different resources that we've put on the site so far, which is there's an FDIC program that has been created by the government in order to kind of teach young adults how to manage their money and kind of learn those basic lessons, balancing a checkbook, some basic rules of investment, saving, things like that, retirement. And then there are also like different courses available online that we're working on integrating into the site. Like Khan Academy has a really great course on banking and money, and those are obviously very free to access. And then for connecting to community college classes, this is more of a work in progress, but California Rising Scholars Network offers a lot of different resources to youth and probation and the juvenile justice system. So connecting with them. And then in terms of getting an ID, this is right now a little bit more like just knowing what documents and things you need for the process after probation, because it's a lot more difficult to coordinate that while the youth is still in the facility. But there's kind of all of those steps laid out. And so I will send out that mock-up this week by email and would love to have all of your feedback and any suggestions on it.
And is this something that, just to kind of catch us up on it, you had spoken to Ms. Stauffer about it?
Yeah.
And is this something that the YFC is willing to implement? Is it
Yeah, I
capable
think
of
so.
implementing?
So I had kind of talked, I had reached out to probation and then I had that conversation with Ms. Stauffer, and I had also, I think, reached out to Judge Edazadi actually a while back about this when the project was very much more of an idea. And so I think once I have all of your feedback on the mock-up, then I would really work on kind of integrating it and making sure it's accessible.
So I don't know if this would be a good opportunity to also get comments perhaps from probation in the next little while, if you're willing to share. Were you guys brought into the loop on this, or
I think
would you like to be?
Yeah, no, I think for sure. I would also love to get your feedback if you want to have a conversation after the meeting or over email. But that's kind of basically the project so far. Yeah.
Well done. Good job. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments on that?
Have you considered putting something in there about finding employment or some like financial supports?
So I don't have anything about finding financial support right now. There are some connections to additional resources. So the County of San Mateo has 2 different sites that connect people exiting the justice system. I think they are the there's the smcconnect.org, which is kind of like has access to different government assistance and then different resources like abuse prevention, childcare, psychiatric emergencies, things like that. And then there's youth-specific county resources through the youth resource hub that the County of San Mateo has created. So we've also kind of created some guides for accessing those rather than trying to implement, kind of those resources that already exist. These ideas were based more off of what are some gaps in the resources available, but I do think that that's definitely a good idea to explore.
And maybe once you have a full mock-up,
Yeah.
and we can have another little
Exactly.
run through in a meeting and circulate and get some more
Yes.
feedback. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's wonderful work. So the next thing on the agenda is the joint JJC's letter on continuum of care, but I don't think we have an update. We gave our comments on the continuum of care. I think it's going forward, and other counties were also chiming in. And then I think the next step is when they finalize it.
They're supposed to get it to us, and we're supposed to get it to our
Elected officials.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's, there's not really much to update everyone on that because we've already updated you. So last on our agenda, I think Commissioner Bocanegra on the evolution, parent support and transportation.
Sure. I'll let our re-evolution community liaison
Okay.
present that.
So we had a very, very successful first parent support group. It was done on Zoom, and we had 4 parents attend, and we had a great discussion. They offered support to each other. They came up with some really good ideas on things that they would like to see. I think that we are really onto something. The transportation program is also up and running. We've provided several rides to medical appointments and psychiatric appointments, and so things are going quite well. So just as a reminder, the parent support group meets on the first Wednesday of the month. And right now we're meeting on Zoom just until we get our core group established, and then we can decide what works best for them. We realize we have families who live in South City and families that live in East Palo Alto. We realize that we have families that have young children or maybe parents that work swing shift. So we want to make sure that we make our space as available and as accessible as possible.
And the support group, is it, are there topics? Like, are you reading?
Yeah, like Bill of Rights was our topic, one of our topics. We went through the Bill of Rights, and then we ask if they have questions, and then we'll address those. And
The US or the youth bill?
the Youth Bill of Rights, the Youth Bill of Rights. So, yeah, and so we will have new topics each time. And I think that the parent support group, we can make announcements as to who would like to participate in the transition programs. Because we've got some very active parents who really want to be involved. And it's just wonderful to be, I mean, it was wonderful.
It's become like a resource where families where they didn't have the type of understanding like she was describing, and creating a system of where they're at. This is a space where you can find out almost all of that. And it's also a space where other families and parents are able to collaborate with their neighbors, be able to provide support in areas where one can't. And like Joanna said, like we have very active parents, and I don't want to put them out there, but they're here tonight, have already begun providing like some rides to underserved parents that can't find the means to go and visit their kid that is in the hospital. They've stepped up and have done that. And this is a location where we're able to meet each other and be able to lend those type of programs where with parents that aren't connected with other CBOs or have that connection or maybe are afraid to connect. This is a space where everyone can be comfortable. And I'm just very happy that we finally have a space that my parents didn't have. And now we're working to create that type of space that was lacking then. And it just goes to show that I think we're progressing in a more humane and sympathetic way with the community, especially with the collaterals of the youth that are incarcerated.
So empowering the community through this connectedness.
That's right, and connecting them to each other too, to be a source of support in a place where there's no judgment, that's led by 2 people who have lived experience in the system. So it's really a safe space.
All these parents have children who were in the system or are in the system, or
to join, your child either needs to be incarcerated at the juvenile hall or camp or actively on juvenile probation.
That sounds really great. That's pretty wonderful. Thank you so much. So any other comments or questions about things on our agenda tonight?
You had earlier said that you were interested in the presentation I'm going to be giving tomorrow night.
Excellent. I'm glad you remembered to mention that.
To the San Diego chapter of Amnesty International on restorative justice and restorative practices. And I got a message back from my contact there that said that I should feel free to share it with anyone else who would be interested.
And this is on Zoom?
Yeah.
And can we find out the information on their website, or?
I don't know if you can find it on the website. I can send, if I know what email to send it to, I can send the.
Or can we put it in the chat?
I can't right now, but
No.
here. If I send it to you,
I can do it.
okay. I think, let me see if I can do that.
And what time is it taking place?
7 p.m.
7 p.m.
Yeah, do you know how to send it?
Let's see. 7 p.m. tomorrow
Why don't I just write it down?
on Zoom. And the presentation is on restorative justice practices.
Restorative practices and restorative justice.
Okay.
I got into that because of California people of faith working against the death penalty.
Okay.
You will get the link to the presentation.
I think we're putting it into the chat. Are we?
Well, it's hard to put the.
Okay.
It won't be the link, but it'll be the meeting ID and password as soon as I.
If anyone
They-
wants to come, if you
I
send,
can give it to them.
if you send me your email at swope.ca-js@yahoo.com, I'll send you the link. That's swope.ca-js@yahoo.com.
I have one thing I can report out.
I can send that too. You guys, if everyone's interested in it.
Karen, I have one thing I'd like to report out on.
Sure.
Briefly.
Yes, we have time.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to mention that one of the things that I'm working on is the tattoo removal and getting tattoo removal services available to the kids that are in the juvenile hall.
Okay.
So that's something I'm working on with the Redwood City Police Department that offers the program through PAL, and another organization that will actually come into the facility to provide those services. This is essential, like for our long-term youth, because what we're hoping is when they come back to the community, that their thinking and their behavior has changed and that they're going to want to leave that old lifestyle behind. And we're talking about kids long-term. And part of leaving that behind is getting rid of those tattoos, those specific tattoos that are related to maybe gangs or neighborhoods or whatnot. So I just want to put that out there, that that's something that I'm actively working on.
Sounds like very important work as well. Well, I think we might be prepared to adjourn our meeting a little early tonight at 7 p.m. 6:59 p.m. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming. And I appreciate all of your input and participation. Don't forget to follow up if you're interested in doing some work with the JJDPC.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
The thing